Snafu is a podcast that contains adult themes and language. Listener discretion is advised.
Hey guys, welcome to Snafu, where the situation's normal, all fucked up. This is the podcast where we tell you stories of true crime, true mystery, and truly fucked up shit that happens every single day, and then we just forget about it. So, we decided we'd remind you. I'm your host, Shannon.
And I'm Corey. Welcome back, guys, and thanks for giving us a listen.
Yeah, we're excited to be back in our recording studio so we can make some new episodes for you guys.
I don't think a recording studio is what you want to use. This is a closet.
Okay, you dream it, and it happens, right?
All right, well,
okay.
then I'm going to call the bathroom our executive lounge.
All right, if we're going that far,
We're going to put a ball pit in there.
Yeah, in the bathtub?
Yep. Google has one, we can have one.
I'm sure both will be equally full of pee within the month, right?
Probably.
Okay, look. Despite that, yay, we're back. We're making new episodes for you guys. But honestly, it's been a busy few weeks. We took a break so that I could do a lot more research, get a lot more writing together. And we've also been tweaking a lot of things for the podcast in general. So we hope you guys really get to enjoy that. I guess we decided that we wanted to be a lot more interactive. And, well, Corey made that happen.
Sorta. I mean, I went on Wix and made a website. Please give us some money, Wix. And it's a little bit under construction. We're going to see some changes coming up in the next few weeks as well while we try to figure out, once we're back on the ground, what we need. But we've got some bios for us, so you can kind of follow along with who Shannon and Corey say they are.
Right.
Dun, dun, dun. And, we're moving a lot of our episodes to being found straight on the website. It's going to link over straight to our Libsyn or our SoundCloud, but you can still find us on, Snafu, or you can still find us on Spotify and YouTube.
Yeah, on top of that, we've also added a blog to this new fancy website. So anytime we mention a picture, anytime we mention a book or like a particular place, you can go to that site and you can check out the blog and you can see exactly what we're talking about. And I think we'll also add like a little bit of, whenever I find a good book, whenever there's a good website, something of interest. So it just makes it easier for you guys to follow along. And also, if you guys want to have discussions about it, it's fun to do that there.
Yeah, we'll make it so you can use the comment section. We also, Shannon's been in the, how can I phrase this one? Her artist den.
Oh my goodness.
And
we don't have to rename everything.
Yes, we do now. And she's been working on our new logo, so we're working on, that's going to be out, and now we're going to be able to have some stickers. So if you guys want to have, a Snafu sticker, we can get you one if you give us a nice review on iTunes or Spotify or wherever you review things.
Yeah,
send us a
Corey
picture.
has no idea. You can't review on Spotify.
All I use is Spotify. So, send us a review and send us a screenshot of it. Send us the address you want this, and I'm being forced to say this at gunpoint here, swag that we can send to you, and we'll make sure you get it.
Yeah, because who doesn't like to get goodies in the mail? I mean, seriously, all I ever get is just crap, and I would love to have some presents. So, yeah, if you want yours, make sure that you tell us where to send it, and we'll get it to you.
And that's enough house cleaning, so let's get into what we're really here for. Talking about some really freaky shit today.
Sideshow freaks, to be exact. We're going to be talking about one of the first true crime stories ever associated with Sideshow freaks, as well as the life story of Ooofty Goofty.
Oofty Goofty.
Oofty Goofty. I cannot help but get a little Swedish chef there. However, I think it's gonna be wild. So let's do our first dive into the sideshow world.
So let's start out by defining, what we're talking about here, because it's an extensive history for sideshows, and if we keep saying freak, we're gonna probably offend somebody.
Yeah, and it also it's kind of shitty to constantly call somebody a freak.
Yeah, but for our intents and purposes, what we're talking about are men, women, and animals that have been exhibited to the public, for entertainment purposes. Things that are very unique because they're deformed, or they got some weird skill because they can wave their third hand that's coming out their neck or something.
Or, well, I don't think that person ever existed. I don't know, that would be cool. But for sure, guys who could, literally pull the elastic skin guys, they could pull, their cheek
those are
or,
creepy.
a foot away,
Nope, any of this stuff that has to do with the human body, no.
I can't wait to take you to the Mutter Museum.
Nope.
They'll have to carry him out on a stretcher.
But, even today, if we go to your local state farm, I was going to say, your state park.
What state park? They don't even have.
Your state
what state
fair.
parks are you going to?
Your state fair. Somehow, park and farm and fair all got worded together.
It's all a place, okay? Places are just places.
Places are places. If you go to your state fair, there's bound to be a few side tents or, it's 2019, let's be honest, trailers.
Yeah.
That are showing some kind of oddity. Maybe it's a two-headed cow or calf fetus, or it's an animal that someone taxidermied in Sid's basement from Toy Story and made it into a mermaid.
Yeah, I've seen those where it's like half fish, half like monkey, and they just sewed it together. And
with like
it's
green
all
yarn.
shriveled, and they're like, "Tell us it's not," It's
we made the Capricorn.
Oh my god, those things are so gross and so weird. I mean, I know like lots of people who've paid $1 to go see the world's largest horse. Because I know it's me. That's me. And then I turn around and I go see the world's smallest horse. And I will literally pay $1 every year to just go look at a horse. But it's fun.
Yeah.
It's exciting. It's silly and it doesn't cost that much. And
in Massachusetts, we have a unicorn cow.
That's not a thing.
Yes, it is.
So they have like what? A dead stuffed cow with a horn?
No, but it's a live cow. And it's just got one horn out of the center of its head.
You're lying to me.
No, there's video.
Okay.
It's in Massachusetts. He's a unicorn cow. He's awesome.
This is a thing?
Yeah. You put him, you got the big turkey leg, you got the unicorn cow, and then you got the big yellow slide. It's the big E. It's all that there's there. And then you can go to Alice's restaurant.
I'm going to look this up, and if I can find the unicorn cow, I'm going to put that on the blog.
Unicorn cow is awesome.
But, yeah. So, I don't know. I guess at this point, what a sideshow freak really equals up to are things like the girl with a snake's body. Like that's something else.
That's not a thing.
It's not because it's there. And then I paid $1. You walk through this trailer, and there's just this hole. There's a literal hole in the floor, and some poor girl she's got her head stuck out of it. And then they've wrapped a fake snake body around her,
okay.
So fake that a kid might try and prank you with it, but an adult would honestly be like, what, why did you do that?
Yeah.
So
go back to your room, kid.
It's so awkward. It's it's not worth it, but it's so awkward. It's kind of fun. So I always pay $1 for that. Why not? You know? And then you go in and she's just sitting there, so you could talk to her, and she's like, hey, and you walk out. There's really no purpose of staying. But I mean, I guess today that's what we're used to, because I guess we've all figured out what sideshow freaks were in the past,
Yeah.
Now it's just today's more about having the more benign. It's a hoax and we know it and it's funny. Or maybe it's just like you said, it's people who put on a really good show. They used to have the tattooed lady.
Yeah.
Which I guess can't really even be a thing anymore. I think what you gotta do is you gotta gotta push the limits to it so you can win a record. So at this point, okay, you can't be the most tattooed person in the world because everyone has the same amount of skin unless you're a 600-pound dude.
Yeah, you're a terrible person.
I'm just saying, you then win the most amount of tattoos, right?
Not gonna go see that.
Okay, you got flame dancing, you got sword swallowing.
I dated one of those, so I mean,
did you now?
Yeah.
How was that gag reflex?
There wasn't one.
I wish I hadn't asked that. Okay, look, the fact is throughout history, the majority of people that would have exhibited themselves, they were really just simply disabled people who did this work as a means to make a living. I mean, I think we all realize that at this point. They were either given no choice, or they were taken advantage of, or some of them owned it. Some of them realized this was the work for them, and maybe they loved their work. Who knows? Unfortunately, even those people mostly got taken advantage of by, let's admit, the circuses that held them. I guess really, and a lot of these people were just taken advantage of. And we're going to talk about that in a second.
In reality, though, sideshows are only really connected to, the 19th century traveling circus. But the practice of exhibiting people for entertainment purposes, that kind of shows up all over history because we're a shitty species. There are records, that are... What?
I'm just looking at you.
Okay, yeah. Well, we are. I mean, there's records tracked all the way back to ancient Rome where people are making a spectacle of people that are different. And why are these records? It's because we're terrible people and we want to keep a record of, hey, this was a weird thing. How about that?
I think we just like to know about ourselves. I think we just love us so much that, that's why I love history. I like to see what happened. And those people at the time just love to talk about themselves. And that's what we get to see. Unfortunately, what do we get to see? It's like the wealthy, the rich. You're never going to hear a story about like the poor schmuck in the field because A, that wasn't interesting. And B, they weren't the ones paying to get in the paper or on the stone tablet or,
These 10 commandments.
But it's really cool to kind of see, like, the people that orbited them as well. And that's when you get the peeks at, like, the little guy and the side life of what was really happening in most of the world at that time. So what kind of things what do you mean? What were we seeing?
So a lot of it goes back to the nobility and the wealthy. They're kind of running around. And back for a while, for the longest time, there was a whole big fashion statement of collecting dwarves. Kind of like their fucking Pokemon cards. We know that Julia, who is the niece of the ruler Augustus from Rome, she kept 2 dwarves. And history knows them as, I'm going to mispronounce these names because I don't speak Greek, Coropas, and the free maid who is known as Andromeda.
Would the Romans have spoken Greek?
They speak Roman then.
Romani.
Either of them. I don't speak it. Could be Italian.
I don't know. I think it was Latin.
That's a dead language. No one speaks that anymore. And it's because of these names. But we have these 2 dwarves that were kept by Julia, and we both know that they're measured at 2 feet 4 inches. And you're not going to see that throughout history where a normal person, the podcasters of the world are not going to be having their name in history and their height measured.
No.
Because most of us are just freaks in a dark basement. The Spanish royal court, is also in on this whole dwarf craze, and they had kept 70 dwarves between 1563 and 1700.
Gosh. I mean, like when you say kept, you really mean that?
Kept. So, if you look at the 17th and 18th century in England, women found it popular to have a monkey as their, little
companion,
puff dog in a stroller. But no, and
don't you judge my lifestyle.
And in Spain, and especially in Germany, it was a dwarf that was a fashionable thing to kind of carry around with you. Maybe not carry, they can kind of get big. But, they were just kind of always using someone that was an oddity as becoming the next big thing to show just how wealthy and how powerful you are.
I mean, I think it's crazy in history, and I'm glad that we pay attention to it. Like, we note slavery.
Yeah.
And we understand that concept of why, how people felt and keeping people. But I think we forget a lot of the times, this is slavery. They're keeping a person, but they don't even, again, that's not a person. You're a thing. You're like my purse. You're just my accessory. You make me look good.
Yeah, so any husband knows exactly what that's like.
Well, oh no. Are you calling marriage slavery?
Yes, absolutely.
Someone doesn't sound bitter at all.
It's just so much better to not have to carry everyone's stuff. Carry your own stuff. Obviously, dwarves aren't the only group that are treated, like property and like a fashionable appendage. Otherwise, this would be called Dwarves the Musical. And there'd be a singing number and probably some Lollipop Guild kids.
Go ahead. I'll open that up. We'll change it. That'll be the episode now. Go ahead.
No, I don't have the research for that because the first one is going to make me vomit. So we're going to deal with that.
Okay.
No, if you had something that was extremely unique or different about you, some royal somewhere definitely wanted to collect you. One good example of this is actually Petrus Gonsalves. And he's this man born in 1537 in the Canary Islands.
He was born a man?
He was born a man. He was born in the Canary Islands in 1537 with a genetic condition that's called hypertrichosis. Or, more informally, werewolf syndrome.
Oh, that sounds sympathetic.
Yeah, just so as a precursor, there's going to be some gagging, so if it sounds edited here, it's probably because I just threw up. From birth, Petrus was covered in what is called lanugo hair, and It's disgusting. Lanugo hair is a soft, downy hair, and I'm going to be reading this stuff because I'm not committing this stuff to memory because it's disgusting.
It's in there now.
It's not, no. It's a soft, downy hair that you find on a fetal or newborn baby, and it's the kind of first hair that humans produce, and the fetus grows it, usually starting at about 16 weeks, and so we all get this hair, which is disgusting.
Yeah, babies are born with hair.
Need a shower now. But normally you shed it before birth, and... Yeah, where does it go? You're in a fucking thing, in a person. Where's it gonna go when you're shedding it? Does mom cough up hairballs?
No, does she poo it out?
I don't want to think
Where
about it.
Where does it go?
I don't, that's why I'm never having children. It's disgusting.
Where's the fetus gonna gestate? You gonna keep it in a box?
No, maybe. I don't know. We're gonna go to Gattaca and make one. And you replaced it with vellus hair, which is like the soft, almost impossible to see hair that you got covering, your face in the mirror, unless you have a beard because you're a bearded lady.
Yes, that little short like hair is literally everywhere. We don't think about it, but like if you stare close enough at, I guess most of your skin, you'll find it, right?
Yeah.
Your face and
it's the human body. I don't think about it as far. But people with hypertrichosis, they don't shed the L hair and get the V hair. I'm never saying that again.
That sounded terrible.
They don't shed the Lenogo hair and get the vellus hair. They just keep the thicker hair. But anyway, Petrus is born, and he's got excessive amounts of this thick, coarse hair all over his body. And yeah, he kind of looked like a little bit of a were animal. Since childhood, though, people have treated Petrus, kind of like he's an animal, because they all thought he kind of was. They'd keep him in a cage, and they'd feed him raw meat. And I'm kind of surprised he made it past childhood because we're not equipped to.
Feeding a child raw meat.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, I want to feed anybody raw meat. It's disgusting.
Like, is that what his parents were doing?
I don't really know, because by the time he's 10 years old, he's actually presented to King Henry II of France as a gift for his coronation. So if your kid's getting given up at 10 to a king somewhere, you're probably not the most helicopter parent.
Okay. I agree. I agree.
Yeah. And, eventually the king observed his new gift, and he was expecting some kind of monstrous creature, because that's what he's been told. It's like, oh, we got Wolf-Faced Boy coming at you, live from the Canary Islands. He eats raw meat and lives in a cage. And, he's kind of expecting that Petrus is going to, like, snap at the cage or bite his fingers off. But, he isn't. He's a person, and he's kind of sweet and gentle.
Yeah, he's probably tired of everyone poking him and stuff and wants to just be left alone.
Yeah, the king is looking at that and he's like, you know what? Maybe this guy isn't some monster.
This child, he's 10 years old.
I don't know, 10, 25, they're the same.
Same, but different.
You're not shitting on yourself anymore, so you're an adult. Congratulations.
I think that is the new, American quota.
Have you seen it nowadays? These kids today.
Sir, you are 5.
Sir, you are 5. Get out of the bar. But I wipe my own ass. I don't care. And
that's why I hear all the old men screaming as we kick them out, too. I wipe my own ass.
Well, you can wipe your own ass at your own house. So, yeah, he's got this 10-year-old wolf man boy, and he decides to conduct some sort of experiment. And honestly, I don't think it's a bad experiment. I just think it's kind of sad that he's putting it in as an experiment. What he wants to do is he wants to see if this beast, I'm putting that in quotation marks here, so when I'm saying it, I'm trying to add that to it. But he's trying to change them into a gentleman. He's thinking that, if he gives Petrus a proper upbringing, the education and the upbringing of a French nobleman, maybe he'll be a gentleman. Maybe this whole, wolf thing is just on the outside. And by the time 1559, there's numbers. By the time a year rolled around, he was 22 years old. He had been a courtier for 12 years, so he is becoming this little gentleman that's doing jobs.
I mean, he's a human being. I don't know why this seems surprising for anybody.
Not to me.
A person.
I mean, he's a person. He was built by two people.
You put somebody in nice clothing and you give them the best education in the world and you teach them, because it's the French court. They're teaching you how to speak and walk. That is part of the education.
And smoke those really long cigarettes. And, anyway, it kind of, there was a big success, but the king died in a jousting match when Petrus is 22 years old. And that leaves everything, including Petrus, who is an adult
including all the people he owns. To his queen, Catherine de Medici. And I'm going to keep saying Medici here because there's going to be another Catherine that comes into the story. Spoiler alert. Catherine de Medici, she decides that she's going to kind of reverse this experiment or go a little bit further with Petrus. What she wants to know is that, okay, her husband can turn a creature, and I'm using quotes here, into a man. But what would happen if you add a man to a woman? Are you going to get little baby wolf puppies, or are you going to get people? So what she wants to do is she wants to see what the offspring of Petrus is going to be. And the queen actually takes the time. She chooses to marry Petrus to the daughter of one of her royal court servants. She's literally going to breed him out.
Yeah. And...
wow, that's...
she marries him to a woman named Catherine, and the two wouldn't meet until their wedding day.
Where did she find Catherine?
Catherine's a daughter of one of the servants in her royal court.
Oh, I mean, That's just almost like a person. So
it's not quite. Though.
They're not really.
They're not really.
They're servants.
No, it's not a person. It's fine.
Got it. I got it.
It's fine.
Okay.
Let me sip my tea and ring my bell for Jeeves.
Where is the help?
I know. We're talking about other royals, and we're not getting our tea served. In fact, there's actually a portrait of Petrus and one of Catherine on their wedding day, and we got that in the email. So if you want to go look at that real quick.
Okay. Oh. Okay, so that's really neat. Like, I mean, that it's like almost, well, it's not like a photograph at all. I mean, this is a general painting, but like, she's really pretty.
Yeah, and he's fluffy.
He kind of is. He's a little fluffers.
But you can see like he's got that like person. He's a person.
He is.
And that's what's the worst about this. So they did eventually marry, and the marriage actually seems to kind of be the tale or like the background story for the fairy tale Beauty and the Beast.
That's like my favorite Disney movie. And it's like based off
I've seen Twilight, so I'm pretty sure they're the same thing.
That makes it feel kind of dirty.
Yeah, I mean, right?
Did you just say Twilight's your favorite?
No, I said they're the same thing. She's wearing a wolf person.
You shut up.
She married a wolf person, too.
It is not the same thing. Twilight's trash.
I don't know. She married a wolf person. Okay.
Fight me over it. Anybody. Twilight is trash.
So, she's at Shannon on Snafood at Twitter. Like I said, so there are a few portrait paintings, and 2 of them would actually go on to have 7 children. And Medici, she determined that her experiment was a success after the couple went on to produce these children. Of the 7 they produced, 4 of them had inherited the hypertrichosis, this werewolf syndrome. And only these 4 would actually be seen in family portraits, like the other one I sent you in the email.
Oh.
And if you look close, you can kind of see, like, they have, like, human features, and the eyes are definitely human.
Because they're human.
Right, no, but I'm stating this. Like, if you look at them, even in this painting, and paintings don't cover all the detail, imagine what you're looking at when it's real life. Like, how can you put this guy and the family through all this shit? You know? And, obviously, it's putting the kids through it, too, because only the ones that were hypertrichosis were in paintings. And these ones are actually, later presented out to other royals as gifts to become pets. Catherine and Petrus would go on and have a long and happy marriage, for what it is. But it's obvious that their lives depended on the whims of the royals. They
already handed out their children.
Yeah, they handed out their children, and they were married because some royals like, hey, let's figure out what this is gonna do.
I don't know. That's insane. Like, I think I've seen that kind of on like the History Channel. I didn't really know, like, he'd just been handed around like that, like a little...
Yeah.
That sucks. Okay.
It's not the best. But, it's also not royals that are complete bags of shit.
It's all of us.
Everyone in society has entertained themselves with the exhibition of people.
Hooray. I mean, I already openly admitted,
we're
like, yeah.
all terrible. Shannon goes see I at least keep mind of the animals, like the unicorn cow.
How could you not?
By the 1600s... traveling groups moving from town to town had become popular because they kept drawing out the human curiosity. You have all these small towns back in the day, and you don't have cars, and you don't have TV. You're going to go stand out in a field, build a gazebo.
In the 1600s?
Yeah, there's no cars, there's no TV.
There's no gazebos.
Okay, there's no gazebos either.
Like, literally... You're
standing in a field.
Yeah, you are, because most people never left, like, the village that they were born and, like, grew up in. And a lot of that had to do with, like... owing the people who already somehow owned the house that you were born into. But on top of that, like, yeah, no cars. Like, it's been in like the last 100 years that people have even started leaving like their home state or even their home county. Yeah. I know that sounds crazy, but like, I mean, I've met people who have never left their home county.
Yeah, I know a few people like that as well.
So if you can even imagine way back then, like, there's nothing to do.
Yeah. So that's why these traveling groups were really big successes. It's kind of the precursor to the modern circus. But anyway, how it would work is, the groups would roll into a little village, but before they showed up, they'd have a few guys that are going ahead, and they'd be kind of barkers. They'd drum up some suspense and some excitement. They'd rent out the halls.
Yeah, they'd kind of tell you what was coming.
Yeah, they'd rent out halls, put up paintings of Bearded Lady's coming, Snake Girl the Second is coming, Bat Boy, the musical will be here.
What? I want to see that.
It's in New York. Maybe we'll go. Anyone within a few miles would kind of get word that this is going on because you're selling your crops or your daughters. I don't know how it works. And you come into town to make your sale, and you're like, I want to go see Bat Boy the musical. So it kind of brings in people from all over those outskirt farms, and before you know it, these people are here, and then they present what's going on, and before it all kind of dies down and they're not making any profit, they're packed up and they're moving on to the next village or town or city. These traveling groups and the creation of the printing press are really what sets the stage for this interest in morbid fascinations and curiosities. For the first time ever, people can see mass-produced papers that are often, have etchings and drawings that convey their story. Most people can't read, but you can see some cool pictures. And it's why Vlad the Impaler, became so notorious and such a popular culture icon, and why the interest in human curiosities blew up.
I mean, I guess the thing with, Vlad the Impaler was, that was pretty fucking terrible.
Oh, yeah,
what he
absolutely.
did was, absolutely horrifying, but I guess in reality, how far does your story spread without, paper and people telling it, or, at least, retelling the story? And, who's going to retell that story? Mostly the soldiers going back home, so, that goes in a completely different direction than, mostly... What, Eastern Europe? Western Europe?
Yeah.
Western Europe.
Northeast, Central, Western, I think.
But basically, yeah, and most people couldn't even read anyways. So you're thinking, so what's the printing press have to do anything? But, it was the first time people could see, pictures. And if you see a picture of a guy being spitted on a stick, you're going to remember that.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's not something I want to see.
I guess I could see why you would say, that's why, Vlad the Impaler, stuck around from it. That's gross.
Yeah, it is pretty gross. But you have to remember that the majority of the world's population, they're very bored. Like we're saying, there's no TV, there's no cars. You kind of grow up in that town, you die in that town, and that traveling circus is the only thing that comes through. But with these kind of books that are coming through, it's going to keep your interest. And all these pamphlets are going to kind of come out, and you're going to try to learn something because it's fascinating. You can look at naked women only so much, but the second you have someone that has... I don't know, a third arm or a club foot or
you make a picture of a monster and you say oh, Bigfoot's,
Yeah.
It's an interesting story.
Yeah, Loch Ness Monster, all that stuff. And that's going to keep a lot of people's interest. And soon, actually, books are being created on medical oddities, with a series of engravings that have become widely popular. Books like Giovanni Battista de Cavallerius.
Yep.
We
almost were there.
His book is, quote, Monsters from All Parts of the Ancient and Modern World. And this book would be used to describe real people from all around the world and display their anatomical drawings for people to, view and ogle and be like, ooh and ah and ew. The ew is me. But these whole oddities, that's going to lead us into our next story if you're ready for this one.
Okay, I was wondering, we felt like we kind of got off track.
Yeah, I always kind of feel like I get off track. But this is another one. This is the story of Lazarus and Johannes Baptiste Colloredo.
Okay.
It's the first true crime story related to a human oddity. So, Lazarus and Johannes are two brothers that have a really unique relationship. They're actually conjoined twins.
Okay.
So, Johannes and Lazarus are born in Genoa, Italy in 1617. And they become one of the first well-known documented cases of conjoined twins. And this is in large part to Lazarus, who's the more well-formed of the two twins, going on to exhibit themselves, I guess is technically the term, throughout Europe. They're also considered the first well-known true crime case that deals with people with this condition.
Okay.
Like I said, Lazarus is the most well-formed of the twins, and by all accounts, he's perfectly normal, or pretty normal. That is aside from the fact that the partially formed body of Johannes is kind of jutting out from his chest.
Oh my god.
The nice thing is,
Yeah, because that's just a little thing.
That's just a little thing, but also...
He's got a great personality.
He's a great personality if he has a cloak on, and the thing is, if he has
a
cloak on...
He's a snappy dresser.
He's snazzy. He's like Lando Calrissian. He's got all these capes, and if he wears the cape right, you can actually kind of not really tell that there's something wrong with him, that there's not something different with him, which is kind of fascinating to me, because I don't know how you're hiding a brother coming out of your chest.
Yeah, right?
But that's what it is. All reports kind of show that Lazarus, he stands in good stature, he's got a tight gold beard, and he wears fine clothes, and it kind of hides Johannes. But Johannes is the parasitic twin, and there's more to him than just extra limbs. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to describe to you guys in a word picture, okay?
Bob Ross me, baby.
All right, everybody. So we're going to get our palette. And the two brothers...
We're going to go ahead on the bottom of the screen. We're going to go ahead and read out every color that we're going to use.
So here's all the colors you're going to need for this. And what we're going to do is we're going to use flesh tone to paint his legs in. And gold for Lazarus's beard. But here at the sternum of the chest, we're going to use this Johannes flesh. And we're going to paint out one leg. You know, it's the left one. We're going to hang it down a little low. We're going to give it a foot there with 6 toes.
6 toes.
And, you know...
Happy accident?
We're gonna make Johannes' face kind of face up. So if you're looking into Lazarus' eyes in the moonlight, you're going to be able to see Johannes there moving his ears at you.
Oh my god, what are you talking about?
So... Johannes is born, and he's got this one leg, and it's got 6 toes on it. He's got 2 arms and his head kind of hangs backwards, and he faces up towards Lazarus. So you can kind of, like, look at both their faces at the same time. There's going to be pictures of it, because it's a weird thing. And
it's like looking at, like, a playing card.
It kind of is.
I don't like it.
And Johannes he's got his 2 arms, he's got his head, and Johannes' head is actually kind of larger than Lazarus, but it was deformed. His mouth, which is usually left open and filled with spit, would move.
Gagging. This is so much fun.
And, you know, his eyes shut for the most part, and he takes these tiny warm breaths that, you know, are kind of hard to see. But Lazarus, being the great big brother, he would actually kind of...
Well, he's size-wise.
Yeah, he would keep the beard. Brother. He'd keep the beard of his brother trimmed, so he's like, "Oh, let me shave that for you, pal." And overall, Johannes could move his lips, he could wiggle his ears, he could move his hands independently, and he'd make a cry if he was pinched.
Oh.
And many people did, because Lazarus was like, "Hey, look at me!" And I'm now flashing Shannon. Hey, look at me and my brother. We're kind of 2 peas in a pod.
And then people probably wanted to see if it was real. And
yeah, you know, and they'd want to see if it's real, so they're going to pinch him and feel it, and Johannes would make these noises because
he's a human being.
He's a human being.
And
he's a
being
person.
Hurt.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so awful.
You know, and Lazarus, though, he always did seem conscious of his brother, because Lazarus kind of understood that if his brother died, it meant he would die too. He knew that the stench and the putrefaction of the body would probably kill him.
You know... We just have to remember, though, like, at that time, people thought that disease, like, all the way up until, like, right before the early 1900s, people seemed to think that disease passed through smell.
Yeah.
That's why you see, like, the plague doctors with the mask. That's filled with, like, incense and, like, herbs and, like, other things to keep out bad smells. Because that's, honest to God, what they think. So, like... Maybe he's seen somebody in the past, like, with his condition, and knows that that's how that works.
I think also you kind of know how your body works, and...
Yeah, but when he says, like, the stench and putrefaction of his body is going to kill me, I think he honestly thinks, this, like everybody else, like, smell, there's no way to get away from the smell. The smell's going to get me sick.
Yeah, I think it's also part that if you have a dead body hanging from your chest, you're going to get gangrene and die.
Yeah, but it's crazy that he knows that.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, I mean, to think about that and know that, like, no matter what you do, if this guy goes, like, there's nothing you could do about it.
You know, so he does, but as a result of that, he does take care of Johannes, you know. That's why he keeps his beard trimmed, and people are pinching him, but he's not letting him get rough. But also, Johannes kind of pays it forward and saves Lazarus' life.
Okay, how does he even do that?
All right, so... Often throughout their lives, Lazarus is displaying their bodies, and he'd rent rooms at public houses, and he'd collect money, and later on he'd, you know, get some well-dressed servants to kind of collect money for them, and kind of drum up activity and interest like the traveling bands. But at the beginning, it was only really Lazarus, and he's kind of putting himself on display, and he has a half-brother in his chest. So he's used to many onlookers, you know, kind of talking saying weird things to him. But there was this one guy in one of the viewings that just pushed Lazarus too far. He kind of kept teasing and taunting him, and I don't know what he said, because I'm assuming Lazarus is kind of used to this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, if you're putting yourself on display, I bet people are doing stuff all the time.
But he did something, and Lazarus just couldn't take it anymore, and he hit the man.
Okay.
And he hit him so hard he died.
Oh, damn!
He just...
He hit him so hard he died.
In my head, I'm picturing kind of either, hopefully just a one punch and the guy explodes
that's
Rock'em Sock'em Robots, or he hit him and he fell and it broke his head and stuff like that.
Okay. But he killed a guy.
He killed a guy. You know, and yeah, so the man died, and as a result, Lazarus is getting put on trial, and he's actually determined to be guilty of murder because, well, he killed a guy. And when he's sentenced to die, Lazarus kind of has the ability to make his last case, right? And he's making the case that if they execute him, they're going to be putting to death the body of an innocent baptized man in Johannes. So back in the day, Lazarus and Johannes were baptized together. And for those of you who don't recognize baptism or whatever it is, it's kind of saying that you're being forgiven of your sins and you're able to go to heaven because you're a baby and you can't make up. It's not your fault that Adam and Eve ate an apple. And that's the Bible, guys. Welcome to Sunday school.
And Catholics.
Yeah. Anyway, it kind of puts you so you can go to heaven as baptized. You're saying your parents are kind of blessing you to go to heaven. So if they kill Lazarus for a crime, that kind of null and voids his baptism. But Johannes didn't do anything wrong. He was just kind of an innocent by-hanger because he's not really standing.
Yeah, ha ha ha.
And it put the court in a giant pickle. They had the decision of whether Johannes was a living human being with a soul. And, they had to go over it. Is Lazarus right? Is this body here attached to him?
I mean, because at this time, there is no separation of church and state. Let's be honest.
No, you can, and even,
that was freaking clever. If if Lazarus never, was in that situation, he was just him, he would have made a great lawyer.
Yeah. And, so they kind of go through it, and they determine that actually, yes, if they kill Lazarus, and as a result it kills Johannes, because it would, they're committing the mortal sin of killing an innocent soul. And as a result, Lazarus just, okay, don't do it again. You're released. And he went free because super lawyer, apparently. And,
oh my god, that's crazy. Also, Johannes is the most innocent because he could never have done anything in his life to commit a sin. And he didn't lie, he didn't cheat.
Yeah, no, he didn't do anything wrong at all. And this is after he's released, Lazarus and Johannes kind of go tour throughout Europe again, and they present themselves to King Charles I, and eventually Lazarus takes a wife, which means Johannes is, always in the threesome.
So weird.
And they have several children, so that's how I know they're having sex. So I don't know what that woman was like.
I don't want to think about it.
I don't either, but I kind of am because it's disgusting. Anyway,
how could you not?
And that's the first true crime story that I could find that involved conjoined twins.
Clap, clap, clap.
Yeah, I'm waiting
Corey's waiting for the ovation.
I'm waiting for the standing ovation from the crowd here. So,
I'll give you all time.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely not one I've heard before, but I think I can agree on the fact that it might just be the first true crime case you can find having to do with, a sideshow freak.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I can't look too far back on some of that stuff, and I don't read Latin, so, and there's translated, that's at least this one.
Yeah, well, okay. Well, mine is a little more well-known, but it's not something I had heard that often because I grew up on the East Coast. Now, I understand that maybe Ooofty Goofty here is going to be a little more recognizable to those guys on the West Coast, but overall, it's going to be a pretty fun story. So, are you ready?
Yeah, let's hear the story of the guy with a funny name.
Okay. So, his real name is Leonard Borchardt.
Yep, Oofty Goofty's better.
He's born in 1862. Leonard claims that when he was only 12 years old, he decided he was going to stow away on a boat and he was going to come to America. And he did so. He gets on board the ship, the SS Frisia. And in order to get there, he has to hide away.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, not even halfway across on the ocean, he gets caught by the captain. Yeah. So the captain, of course, what are you going to do? You don't just drop a 12-year-old boy off the side of the boat.
You could.
I mean, you could, and nobody would know the better. But evidently, this captain, he's a little better than that, and he decides, all right, you're going to work this off. So instead of just getting to America, just doing one crossing, which we have to think this crossing probably took 3 months.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe. But this crossing took a while, so you really only want to do it one time. Unfortunately for Leonard, he ends up doing it 3.
Jeez.
Yeah.
I wonder if is that 6 times back and forth, or...
No, he just makes the crossing, 3 crossings in order to pay off his passage, and then he's allowed to disembark in America and be on his way. And so he finally manages to immigrate to America in 1878. And for the next 5 years, he's just kind of rambling around the United States, just kind of trying to figure out what he's doing with himself, all the way up until he ends up finding himself stranded, broke, stuck in Detroit, Michigan during a snowstorm.
Yeah, he really didn't know what he was doing if he ends up in Detroit when it's snowing.
In January of 1883. So 5 years he's just wandering around till he gets stuck in a snowstorm. He's got nothing, no money, no food. He's stuck. So being so desperate, Leonard ends up joining the United States Army. And he signs up and instantly gets placed in a cavalry unit stationed at the Fort Jefferson Barracks military post. But despite the fact that nobody has any idea what that means, it's just a post in LeMay, Missouri. He gets trained out there.
Nowhere fun.
And he is a first-generation immigrant, so I'm sure his accent's thick. He doesn't fit in as a first. He's not an American.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, his fellow soldiers, they start to tease him. They mostly start teasing him for his Jewish background. This is what bothers them. And they inform him that because he is Jewish, he's going to be the first guy the Indians scalp when they get out west.
That's not very nice. They don't care. White people.
Yeah, just white people. We hate those guys. Just in general, all y'all look the same.
We're not going to specialize in hunting Jews.
But they don't. They didn't give two shits about it. But this scared Leonard pretty bad. And what's worse is he gets his orders. And where are they going to send him? Well, they want to deploy him to the Washington Territory, which at the time is basically unknown, filled with Native Americans. It's exactly what he fears.
Yeah, that's Manifest Destiny and trying to figure out what's out there.
Yeah. So Leonard does what Leonard does best, and he just up and runs. He definitely deserts. And Leonard being Leonard, he also gets caught the same day. So he leaves, he gets caught. Good for him, though, because he manages while he's in custody. A couple days later, he manages to get loose, and he takes his happy ass out to California.
Yeah, that's where, everyone wants to go.
I mean, it is. A lot of the gold rush is happening. How are you going to catch a man that deserted out there?
Yeah.
Are you going to track me down? Exactly. So Leonard decides to go out to California, and by 1884, he ends up getting connected to a dime museum act out there. And dime museums were popular.
Wait, I know what this does.
Okay.
They show dimes to people.
I hate you. No. Dime museums were
2 nickels?
Popular places at the end of the 19th century where the average person, you, me, the girl down the street, if you wanted to go have entertainment, you're not going to go see movies. Those don't really exist. You're going to go pay a dime and you're going to go watch some vaudeville acts on stage.
Oh, yeah. What's his face? Fatty.
Yeah, like that bastard Fatty Arbuckle.
Yeah, fat man rolling around.
Yeah. I don't have feelings about it, no. So for Leonard, he didn't actually turn out to be particularly talented.
Yeah, I kind of figured that.
He had to definitely come up with something a little more special in order for him to be hooked up with this dime museum act. So to set himself apart and be a little bit different from everybody else, the ones that had talent or something unique about them, Leonard gets help from an assistant, and he manages to cover his entire body from head to toe in road tar.
No, that's not smart.
It's not. On top of that, he then rolls in a giant pile of horsehair. He's just jamming horsehair and shit and all sorts of crap into this tar. He's then placed into a large cage, and his assistant / manager goes out into the road, and he starts presenting to the public in Market Street Sideshow that he has the wild man of Borneo, a savage who's been expensively paid for by the city of San Francisco, thousands of dollars, obviously.
San Francisco was going to buy a wild
man of Borneo just for their city. Yes,
yeah.
Obviously. And don't you want to see that?
Yeah.
And so as he's drumming up this business, he's yelling, he's got crowds coming up. They bring Leonard out in the cage. And he doesn't say words because a savage wouldn't say words. He just grabs the bars. He starts shaking his head side to side. He's wildly yelling. The only thing he's sure a savage would yell, "Oofty Goofty!
No,
Oofty Goofty!"
This does not feel like a savage would yell that. I mean, I don't know what Borneo people sound like, but...
Like a bunch of fucking morons who don't know what anybody outside the United States sounds like. It's just Oofty Goofty. So that's obviously soon what his name would become. Much easier than saying the wild man of Borneo.
Yeah.
So Oofty Goofty,
to his friends, I bet.
He gets really popular really fast, and just to drum up even more business. When he's out there, they would poke raw pieces of meat into the cage, and Ooofty here would go grab up those raw pieces of meat and just gobble them right down. He doesn't care. He's here for the business.
That's not how your digestive system works, buddy.
It's a huge hit. People love it. He's clearly the wild man of Borneo. Well, like we said, maybe it wasn't the best idea to use road tar all over your body.
They kill people.
Yeah. Well, this act only lasts 1 week because that is a really bad idea, and it turns out it makes you really fucking sick. And that's exactly what happens to Oofty Goofty here. So when you cover your entire body with something that's that thick, it clogs all your pores.
Yeah.
So your body can't regulate your body heat, and you start getting really sick. You can't sweat. And also, guess what? You can't fucking take it off.
Yeah.
It's literally in your skin. So he gets so sick that they have to go take him all the way to the hospital and like figure out what they can do to basically, they think he's going to die.
Yeah.
While he's going to the hospital, that assistant/manager, he scoops up all the week's worth of money because this is all they've done is work for 1 week, and he fucking dips out. He's gone.
Of course. Does not surprise me in the slightest.
So poor Oofty is stuck in this hospital, deathly ill, and the San Francisco doctors are just like, we're not real sure what to do, because you don't normally, like, you get tarred, you don't survive. Like, that's not really how this works. And so for days, they're trying everything they can think of to remove the tar, but unfortunately, like, it's in his skin. So, like, most of these things are just them trying to rip it out of his skin or whatever, and it's not working. Finally, they finally figure out a way to help Oofty Goofty out. It's their only option. So they sit this poor schmuck on the roof of the hospital. They cover him in tar removing solvents, and then they just lay him out in the sun, and they're like, let the sun do it.
Oh, that's what I want to hear from my doctors. Let's hope this works.
Well, lucky for him it did. So it came off. Unfortunately for Oofty Goofty, he could never be the wild man of Borneo anymore. Like, that's not going to happen again. So despite the fact that he can't do that act anymore, he's still determined to return to the entertainment world. Like, this is Oofty Goofty's life. This isn't the kind of guy that's going to go take a desk job.
This is what I do now.
That's what I do now. So to go and make himself some extra money, he actually became a baseball team mascot.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. And he traveled around with them. I'm sure he drummed up entertainment, kind of acted like the clown. It just seems like he wasn't that popular because after several losses, the team decided that they were going to fire him. Turns out they were also several hundred miles away from home, and they didn't give a shit, so they kicked him out, and he had to find his way back to California on his own.
Good luck, bud.
Like, I just feel for this guy, because it's like, I don't know, maybe he was a complete asshole, but nothing ever seems to, like, really work out for Ooft here. So, he does manage to make it all the way back to California.
Oh, that's good for him.
Yeah, and he can't quit now. Like, he's already made it this far. He's not going to quit on his dreams. So, at times, if you wanted to find Oofty in San Francisco, you could go over to the Woodward Gardens. You could pay some money to walk around, and you could throw baseballs at him.
Oh, that's fun.
That was legitimately his job, was to be a moving target, and if you hit him with a baseball, you'd win a cigar.
All right.
I don't understand.
No, people in California are weird and hipsters.
You think they're still doing it today? Did
Probably.
we just give somebody at some off-brand like bar an idea?
Yeah, I think that's probably how they handle their entertainment in California. It doesn't involve any kale. It involves probably a lot of kale.
A lot of kale.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. So in June 1885, Oofty Goofty finds himself charged with libel. He burns down a house and he gets caught.
Oh.
And when he gets caught, he says that he was paid $200 to burn this house down by the guy that owned the house, C. Linear. He ends up being placed into a home for the inebriated.
Yeah. I think
Because
Oofty Goofty is
back
sideshow.
in the day, we just named shit like that. We weren't like, oh, county jail or, like rehab. Like, no, you go for the house for the inebriated.
Yeah.
And they plan on doing an insanity examination on the guy. Like, they think, like, look at Oofty's past. Like, you don't think he's
insane.
crazy.
Yeah, he's crazy.
Yeah, but it seems like before they could even go through with giving him an insanity check, which I'm pretty sure they were going to check off and be like, yeah, he's pretty much insane.
Look at him. I mean,
Turns out,
look at it.
Yeah, turns out they found out he was a deserter from the army.
Yeah,
So, doesn't matter.
probably
Oofty Goofty,
supersede anything else.
yeah, it does. So Oofty Goofty suddenly finds himself with a court-martial, and he's actually sentenced to 3 years of hard labor for the army.
That's not fun.
No. So he's like, this ain't my bag, baby. I gotta get out of here. And in an attempt to get out of this, he decides he's gonna start faking epileptic. Yeah, he's gonna do them.
Epileptic fits.
He's gonna have those fits. But it doesn't fool anybody. He's never done it before, and you just start doing it now. No, dude, we don't believe you. So since that's not working, he decides to jump off a cliff.
Oh, all right, Wile E. Coyote.
He jumps off a cliff. He ends up injuring himself enough that they actually just release him, because at this point it's not even
You're
fucking
way
worth it
too much trouble
to keep this guy to do hard labor for 3 years. He's hurt. We're gonna have to take care of him, and they just let him go. So he ends up being released from service on September 18th, 1885 for his disabilities. And he went on to continue the sideshow business, like always. He wants to make a name for himself, and he decided the way to do this is to break a record. And he's going to do this on July 14th, 1886. He's going to trek across the United States while pushing a wheelbarrow.
That's a weird record to try to break.
I know. And I was like, why a wheelbarrow? Like, that's the weirdest fucking thing in the world. But actually, if you just do it like a quick search, you find out the whole reason for it is that if people see a guy with a wheelbarrow, they won't be tempted to offer him a ride.
Yeah.
And you can, like, guarantee he walked the whole way or some nonsense like that.
Someone, I can't find the right one, because the Guinness one is Australia, but there was someone who walked from, like, somewhere in, like, New Hampshire out to Portland to Portland. They did Maine to
Yeah, so, like,
Oregon,
exactly his plan.
And it was, like, he made it, like, a bunch of, like, 12,000 miles or something like that. How far did Ooofty get?
Ooofty got 40.
Oh, all right, Ooofty, you know.
And I don't blame him though. Look, it's not his fault. Oofty, he's doing it. He's walking, and he's got the wheelbarrow. But it gets dark, and while he's walking in the dark, he hits about 40 miles, and then out of the darkness, out of nowhere, comes a couple farmhands, and they end up beating him up, knocking him over, pushing him into a creek. And understandably, Oofty got so scared, like, he called this shit off. He went home.
Yeah.
He went back to San Francisco. He was like, if this is what's going to happen, like the first day out, like, only imagine what's going to happen to me halfway across the country.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I would be done with that, too.
So Oofty Goofty did not break that world record, by the way. Once for a joke, he did let himself be boxed up and shipped to Sacramento for a whopping $20.
All right. You got to set your sights high, Ooft.
Yeah, well, the joke didn't quite go off right, because instead of just delivering the box to this woman in Sacramento that was supposed to get it, the Postal Service ended up putting the box unopened upside down in a warehouse for a weekend.
Oh, that's great.
Before they delivered him. He actually admitted later on, he's like, honestly, this almost killed me. Like, this joke almost did me in.
Yeah, that seems like it would do exactly that.
Definitely not worth the $20.
No.
So at one point, Oofty Goofty manages to secure himself a slot on stage at a local beer hall called Bottle Koenigs, and he decides that he's going to win over the crowd with a song and a dance.
All right.
You know, and that's exactly what he only manages to get out, is one song, one dance, before they physically remove him from the building. So I don't know.
We don't like you here.
I don't know what you did. I don't know how bad this thing was.
Sweet Home Alabama for the 14th time?
Yeah, but it was bad enough that they were like, you were physically being removed. We want you the fuck out. So they bodily pick him up, toss him outside, and then they beat the ever-loving shit out of him. To which Oofty has a moment of clarity, and he decides, I know what my future is.
Okay.
During this moment of ass whooping, he realizes that he can't feel any pain.
Probably because he was half tar for a bit.
So, for the next few years, Oofty's gonna ride this train. He exploits himself all over town. He accepts the fact that he can't feel anything. So, he can make some cold hard cash out of this by offering people the chance to beat the shit out of him.
Yeah, I don't believe this is a smart move, Oofty, but you haven't really made yourself smart anyway, so...
He sells this pretty well, because it works. I mean, it's a once-in-a-lifetime chance. When are you going to get another opportunity to pay money and beat this guy up? Come on, he's a good businessman. He's got a pay scale, for God's sakes. Look, for 10 cents, you can kick him as hard as you want.
All right.
Sounds like a good deal to me.
Sure.
For 25 cents, you can hit him with a walking stick.
That's his stick or your stick?
It's a stick.
All
Go
right.
get one. Everyone's got one. Where's your walking stick?
I can walk.
His best deal is for 50 cents. You can hit Oofty Goofty with the baseball bat that he'll provide.
Foam?
No, a fucking wood baseball bat.
Whipple.
In fact, this is the way you would, if you had been living in San Francisco, hanging out on the street with your guy friends.
Yeah.
And Oofty would have been walked up to you with baseball bat in hand, and he would have just regularly said, "Hit me with the bat for 4 bits, gents. Only 4 bits to hit me with this bat." And you know what? It sounds tempting.
Yeah, especially being an asshole, but...
Oofty would do this for the next 15 years. This is his bread and butter. Unfortunately, for Oofty Goofty, in 1891, he would cross the wrong man with this bothering, or, hey, you want to hit me, you want to beat me up for money, and he ends up crossing paths with the world heavyweight boxing champion, John L. Sullivan.
All right.
John takes the opportunity to crack a pull cue over Oofty Goofty's back.
Oh, that's gonna hurt.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's not what he was fucking offering to let you do to him.
No, that's not
this is
fun at that
definitely overkill. And it ended up leaving him with 3 chipped vertebrae and excruciating pain. I mean, anytime you touched the man, he'd wince. It hurt. You could tell.
Yeah.
Normally, that's where this story would end. If you go online, you see a lot of people, they say, oh, he got so hurt, he just kind of fell into disgrace and couldn't do it anymore, and he just kind of slowly drifts out of history.
Yeah. After that, yeah, you can't do much else.
Not Oofty. Oofty doesn't feel that way.
Of course not.
He might have been very much hurt, but the reason he falls out of touch, you don't really see him much anymore in San Francisco, is because he fucking leaves San Francisco.
That's a good reason to lose track of a guy.
A lot of people think because he no longer keeps showing up in the San Francisco newspaper, they're like, oh, he died, and that's it. But in fact, Oofty, he moved out to Texas. And you can see, there's articles from San Antonio and, Dallas. They keep track of him because Oofty's pretty fucking entertaining.
Yeah.
And his basic thing is that he's still in crippling pain, but he's still offering to let people beat him up. So he's just taking his entertainment to different varieties. He's just going out to the oil field and he's offering a lot to let the workers beat him up. But that's not his only, shtick, because I don't think you can make your
comedy,
whole life.
buddy. Just switch to comedy.
He does. He does jokes. He wants to do bets for money, funny bets. So I think my favorite one is and this is how he preferred to make his money rather than being beat up. He would actually he would race you to drink beer.
All right.
But he'd do it with a spoon.
Oh, okay.
He also entered this weird thing at the time that was really popular, which was quail eating contests, which I imagine was very similar to hot dog eating contests, but quails
are tiny,
were the thing.
Little birds.
And he would go on to make a few more appearances throughout newspapers in different towns up until about the 1900s. We know he was living in Houston at the time, and that was kind of the last real mention of anything he was really doing. The last thing we ever see is a city directory from 1923 when he would have been 61. That's the last time we ever see Oofty mentioned anywhere. But for a guy that kind of disappeared into history, I think we're never going to forget good old Oofty Goofty.
No, I don't think you can. not with a resume like that.
I feel for him. It's oh, I'm going to go do this. Oh, this got fucked up real bad. But I'm still going to do this.
I'm still going to try this one.
He never lost hope. And that's my story of Oofty Goofty.
I like that one. That's pretty silly and goofy.
I know. For the first time, I get to come off with like a lighter story.
Yeah, I get Wolf Boy and Bob Ross painting twins.
Yeah, you went to a weird place with that.
It's Bob Ross. It's never a weird place.
I just can't believe you didn't mention saliva blue when you were like painting that word picture for us. All right, guys, that's going to be it for us. Thanks for coming back. Thanks for hanging out and having a listen. And check back in next week when we come back with a whole different set of stories.
Have a good night, guys.
See ya.